what has been happening in our world, especially in 2020, with a pandemic, shaky economy, human rights violations, and riots. What might be coming next, and why is it all happening? Leo Nineteen Tallarico, a longtime professional astrologer, will show us the planetary movements behind all this transformation. Is it possible extraterrestrial beings are a part of all this? Sit back and enjoy the ride as Leo takes us on a journey into the cosmos, showing us humanity's movement into the age of Aquarius, which will unite us all, even in the face of our world's challenges. And now, Perspectives from the Sky with Leo.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Perspectives from the Sky. Today is the 25th day of September, and we are live, as always. So this has been a kind of a strange last week or 10 days. I'll ask my guests, too, when they come on. We have two really fantastic guests today. We have Ron, the amico. I consider a master healer, global healer. We have Lauren Perrault, who's a psychic, a medium. And she's many other things also. They both are. They're both kind of Renaissance people, in a way. So this last week was not easy. I'll give you some reasons why. There was a full moon on the 20th that was in Pisces, or Pisces Virgo to be more specific, because all full moons are based on the sun and moon being opposite each other. So in this case, the sun in Virgo, moon in Pisces. 2 days later, autumn equinox. And now we're moving up to Mercury Retrograde tomorrow night. What do all these say? The full moon says we're halfway through a lunar cycle. And now it's the waning half. The energy is retreating, going inward, more into the yin energetic. When we get a autumn equinox, we're sort of doing the same thing because it's halfway through the solar cycle. So halfway through the lunar cycle, halfway through the solar cycle. Because autumn represents when, right after that moment of equality, of balance, of equilibrium, we then start moving into more darker minutes every day. So it's kind of like a sunset of the day. So now you see the lunar cycle halfway and moving down and inward, and the solar cycle halfway and moving down and inward. So a lot of promptings we're getting to go inside. Not to make any rash moves, not to start any big projects. Not really a good time to make any huge decisions, but a good time to go inward, to get more reflective, to see what's going on in your inner world. You know, in America, we're taught pretty much the outer world's what counts. The outer world's about production and making money and material goods, materialism. But Christ said, the kingdom is within. I know both of my guests have some belief in that. I certainly do. Kingdom is within because everything can be seen, ordered, connected with, brought together from that inner plane where we find our source. So Mercury retrograde, I'll tell you exactly. Some of you go, oh no, it's Mercury retrograde, but it's not so bad. Yes, it is. It's on September 26th at 10:10 p.m. Pacific, and it's on at 1:10 a.m. on the 27th of September. I'm going to give you an off-the-wall comment right now. I just want to know, I've been getting the numbers 10:10 over and over and over again this whole last week. I don't know where the hell that comes from. 10:10, 10:10, 10:10. And so Mercury goes retrograde at 10:10. We'll see what it all means, if anything. Mercury will end up going back direct again on the 17th which is the same day that Jupiter will be going direct. So that'll be interesting. Both of them direct the same day. I'll give you the typical advice, Mercury retrograde. Do your best not to make any huge decisions. Do your best not to start any huge projects. Be more careful than usual with your communication. Realize that everything is switching more to your right brain than your left brain. If you're pushing with your left brain to figure it out, you're obsessing and trying to get it. No, during Mercury retrograde is a horrible time. Well, it's always a horrible time to do that. But Mercury retrograde, definitely you don't want to get that logical, linear brain overtaxed, because we shift during Mercury retrograde. The logical linear is not in charge anymore. And since we're conditioned for that to be in charge, we push for answers. We push for perspectives, and it just doesn't happen. Anything else during Mercury retrograde? People will speak of like electronic technical equipment goes on the fritz. I haven't had that much of that personally over the years, but I know a lot of people that have. And then, like I said a little while ago, communication. Realize that it's not as easy to communicate. Right now, it's maybe next week I'm with somebody, we can communicate, but there'll be the occasion when things just aren't working well on the communication. Just be aware of it. Then you can kind of work on it. So I think that's pretty much, Mercury retrograde just kind of happens then, and you kind of move with it as it's happening. And here I'm making a big deal out of it. Believe me, it's not that dramatic. Yeah, it is. It is something that we have to be aware of. It helps us. And then I know a lot of people when it goes direct, they go, things are normal again. You don't know how much we put that in our minds and how much it's actually happening. Mercury retrograde is real, but we don't want to dramatize it and make it more difficult. Another thing that happens during Mercury retrograde is people from the past come back. Sometimes they come back in the flesh, oftentimes in our dreams, in our waking thoughts. Why do they come back? They come back because there's something we need to re-engage. Maybe we're in a pattern with our current relationship that's not going well. So then with Mercury retrograde, everything helps us to bring those people back into our lives. And as they come back in, we remember that pattern from before and how to work with it now. So October. Remember, we're going down and in for a while. But then on October 6th, we have a new moon in Libra. And on the same day we have a new moon in Libra, it's got a really powerful day on the 6th of October. Pluto will be going direct that same day. And Pluto is the powerhouse. And so that new moon kind of starts the eclipse season. Usually it's a little later than that the eclipse season starts compared to when the actual eclipses are. But this time it seems like a little earlier, and that Pluto kind of gives me that message that things will start intensifying already quite a bit around the 6th of October. Pluto direct. I haven't experienced that before that I can remember. Pluto directed the same day as a new moon, but this time we got it. October 7th, Venus goes in Sagittarius, so another amount of energies are moving forward. The new moon, Pluto direct, Venus in Sagittarius. Then Saturn goes direct on October 10th. And Jupiter goes direct on October 17th. Same day that Mercury goes direct. Mercury go back direct on the 17th. Jupiter will be going direct that day too. So there's a lot of direct from retrograde movement in October. And I highlight that now because that's going to be a real turning point around that time, October. Because in November, we have two very powerful eclipses. We have an eclipse on, where is that? Don't get away from me. We have one on the 19th of November. and that one will be a lunar eclipse. And then we have one on the 4th of December, and that one will be in Sagittarius. That's the lunar one. That'll be in Sagittarius, Gemini. And the other one will be Scorpio on the 19th. Which is going to be a powerful time, starting with those eclipses. All the things that we're seeing out in the world right now. I know a lot of you, it's like, what's going on? It's like, don't understand it all. Everybody's split from one another. Families are split apart. Friends split up with each other. Our political system is more split than ever before. And that's saying a lot. So it's almost like you've got like a yin yang symbol, right? And the two opposites are inside. And it's almost as if what's been happening is they've been cracking open and they're no longer enclosed within. But that's not for everybody. And that's not where the universe is at. That's where our culture and our society are at. Always keep that in mind. When I say this is going to happen or that's going to happen, that's because in the three-dimensional world, that's what's happening. But many people that are listening now are not controlled within that third dimension. They have other dimensions that they travel through. And our guests today are both experts on that, and I'll be asking them about that too, the other dimensions. So yeah, that's the third dimension. And as the world changes now from one age to the next, from the Pisces age to the Aquarian age, which it already has technically, although there's a lot more work to get us into the Aquarian age. But we know we're moving in that direction, and we know that we have to be in a different consciousness to be a part of that age than the consciousness that we have been up till now. Everybody's got different words for it. I like higher self for the self we're all evolving into. And this is a lot about evolution. It's about evolutionary moving out of old consciousness then into new consciousness. And so as we move into these higher self, we then are, well, let me put it to you this way. That ego self or that lower self is not going away. A lot of people say they make the ego like the enemy and they try to destroy it. And what you do when you do that is you just make it more powerful. So that doesn't work. What does work is that you give your allegiance to this higher self and you work or allow yourself to get into this higher self. And what automatically kind of happens is that ego self or that lower self no longer runs everything. It's no longer the boss. It's now a worker bee for the higher self. And that means the ego does not die, but it knows its place. And the higher self needs advice from the ego self sometimes. Because the higher self is involved in this new age we're all moving into, and the higher consciousness. But sometimes we need advice from the practical, everyday ego that knows how to manipulate its way through things. So you and I and everyone on that same journey is moving more and more to this higher self-consciousness and less reliant, or I should say less and less controlled and dominated by the ego self. Well, I think I'm going to switch over to guests sooner than usual because I've got two really wonderful guests. I think I'd like to get Deborah on today too. She's got an announcement to make about some events that are here in Sedona coming up. So she's going to spend a little bit of time with us today too. But, let me just add real quickly. From the 3D world, the economy is going south, probably this autumn and winter. Iran, Israel, China, I've been studying all the charts. Unless we get some kind of a divine intervention, there's likely to be a lot of difficulty, a lot of conflict going on there over the next 6 months or so. And this isn't just like maybe, this is like, yeah. Like I said, unless there's some kind of divine intervention. And the only reason I say about divine intervention is because I know that in November, December this year, the two eclipses that are happening in November, December are the same eclipses to the same degree that were happening on the day that, give me that city in New Mexico, Roswell had the big event in June, July of 1947. And the aspects that were then are happening in November, December this year. So just something to keep an eye on what that might mean. So with all that said, let's bring on Mr. Ron D'Amico. Ron, hi.
How you doing, my friend?
Good.
Good. Thank you very much for having me on. It's great to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you on. So it's hard to label. You're not someone that can be dropped in a box very easily. That's why I kind of stumbled around with, he's a healer. You really are complicated. I don't know how people that try to market you get to market you, because you don't fit.
No, I don't have
in the box.
No, I definitely don't have a tendency to fit in a box. I have a tendency to create boxes when needed. How's that sound? As holding stations for whatever we have to move through until we no longer require it to gain clarity. It's kind of like you create scaffolding while people are going through what they're going through, and then you pull the scaffolding away when they're about ready to stand on their own 2 feet, so to speak. But yeah, everything about what I've done since I've been engaging and working with people for more than 20 years now, it's been an evolutionary process from the beginning. And I've always had a hard time coming up with a label, because we put it out there and then 15 minutes later, and I'm being facetious, but not really, all of a sudden it doesn't fit anymore.
Yes.
So for me, one of the terms that seems to be enduring is a catalyst. I love the term alchemy and transformation, because everything I do with people is very similar to what you do when you're talking about astrology. It's, you see what is within them. You see what's in their chart. You look at what's going on at a planetary, or I call it a celestial body level. You notice how all these things are influencing. And then they either express to you, or their chart express to you, the direction that they want to move in. And then you help them understand the essence of what's going on, so they can be more cognizant of their own choices, their own, where they are and where they are not within themselves. And that's one of the things that I play with. It's like I play with it on the fly, where I become aware of where they are, what their intent is, and I look to see where it lines up or where it does not. And then releasing the patterning that interferes with why they can't quite align with the intent of their soul.
Yes. No, that is very similar to what we do. With different tools, but very similar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about consciousness itself.
Cool. Yeah.
Because that is something that you love to swim in, I know.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Tell me when you first started to really say, consciousness is something that I really want to explore more and more and more. How did that happen, and when did that happen in your life?
I'm going to preface it by saying most of my life, what I was exposed to as far as how we are meant to be in the world, whether it's from a familial standpoint, social standpoint, or from a religious standpoint, it never registered for me. It didn't make sense. And as I progressively could no longer hold my structure and alignment, when I was in my early 20s, was when somebody handed me a book. And it was Dan Millman's Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And when I read that, that's when it helped me recognize that I knew there was more to consciousness than I had been told.
What did you see or hear within that book, or read within that book, that kind of helped you awaken?
I felt, and I know the book was an embellishment on his life, but it still had a core intent that held the integrity of what he went through. obviously he wrote it in a way that it was going to be more inviting for people, but the essence of what it was for him was very accurate. And what I felt was that where we can be caged in such a way that we don't see anything outside of our mindset, when you were talking about the ego. And then things began to happen to him to stretch his mental framework. As he kept going further and further and kept getting pushed further and further, he became curious at that point. That curiosity drew him to keep exploring and expanding and to be willing to put everything on the line. And the thing that he ended up putting on the line was the egoic rule over his existence and the insecurities that he carried.
Exactly.
That dynamic rang true for me. Because when I was reading it, every step of the way, I literally couldn't put the book down when I was reading it.
Yeah.
And as I was reading it, I'm going, this makes perfect sense to me. Everything in me resonated, but I was reading between the lines. I wasn't taking it verbatim in what he was saying, but I was feeling the essence of what he was sharing through the words that he was using.
Let me ask you this. Like I remember when on my journey too, when the turning point happened, I didn't realize how much I had to give up from my old life in my old world. I thought I would just be able to just grow and that's it. But I lost family that I was in back then, and other things too, jobs.
Sure.
I didn't fit into any of the jobs anymore that I had before, and I wasn't going to compromise myself and stay in them. Yep. So I had to let go of a lot of things on my journey. I know you've had to too. So tell us what that process has been like for you.
Wow. I never really fit in, so it didn't make much of a difference, but what I did create, I found that I had to, I like calling it, putting it on the altar of purification and truth. And everything that I had, when I really got into my process, the first question that was asked of me was, what are you willing to give up in order to heal? And it was instant. I said everything and anything. I didn't even hesitate. And then I got a flash of what was currently going on, probably the next 10 years, of what needed to be given up.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was really...
Tell me about that flash. Tell me about that flash.
It was like watching an immediate movie of the next 10 years. And it was little clips that just started showing up. And I knew that I was married at the time. And I knew that the marriage was gone. I knew it was going to come to an end. But one of the things, and what I was doing for jobs, because I had already created my own personal fitness training business. I was working for chiropractors, physical therapists, and the like. But I knew something about that needed to change. I didn't quite know what, but I knew I was willing to put it all up and let it all go. And through the process, I got to know myself better, because I knew it wasn't about just getting rid of all the garbage that I had in my life that didn't line up.
Right.
I knew it was about going in here.
Exactly.
And as I went in, I started to excavate my true nature. And I started to feel the better part of myself come forward, as opposed to the wounded part of myself leading the run.
Could we even say more authentic self? Could we even say?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what happened was, I always knew the truth when I was a kid. I just didn't know how to bring it into a world that wanted me to be something else. Yes. So this was that opportunity to just stretch my wings and give it a shot and see what happened. So as I went through that, I began to live more authentically. I began to live with greater clarity, greater degrees of sincerity. My need to be accepted, be approved, get approval and the like, just progressively fell away.
Mm-hmm.
And as I became a better person, more aligned in my words, the person I was married to at the time wanted less and less to do with me.
Yes.
The healthier I became, the less she wanted me around.
Yes.
What I was doing for work, I couldn't do it from the superficial perspective that I was doing it. I had to start engaging. Why are you not healthy? Why are you not able to take care of yourself the way you are? Why are you making the choices that you're making? I would start asking questions, and things would just start opening up for people. That's when I began to realize I had no idea who I was and what life was supposed to be. And I literally just could feel that inner mechanism says, Just put it up all on the altar and let it go, and let's see what happens.
Yeah. Would you say, how much is it that it's courage, and how much is it that I have no choice? What's happening?
Ooh. It's interesting. I think it's a blend of both.
Yeah.
Courage to me is the fuel and the ignition from the soul that tells the human form, this is who we are. You have the ability to do it. Just trust this and keep persevering. And it also got to a point where I think I was just doing my work for about a year and a half. And my wife said to me, she goes, when are you going to be done with this? And I literally looked at my wrist like I had a watch on. I said, when I'm dead.
Yes.
And she didn't know what to do it.
Maybe
then. But see, at that point, I didn't realize the magnitude of what I'm playing with. So for me, it was like, it meant this lifetime, this ain't changing.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's when I saw our heart sink and the relationship shifted dramatically at that point, because it wasn't something she was interested in.
Did you go through a lot of? You were brought up Catholic too, as I was.
Yeah.
Did you go through a lot of guilt through that process of giving up your wife, or did it just feel so natural that you didn't even have to deal with the guilt?
Both.
What was your process like?
It was both.
Yeah.
Literally, I could feel the programming and the patterning that I was instilled with. And I could feel, well, you should be doing this. You can't be doing this. This doesn't make sense. You don't do that to this person or these people. But there was this inner draw that said, but I can't do it differently. Otherwise, I'm going to be in a different type of prison that's going to be even more miserable.
Yes.
Because what happened at that point was the eternal nature of my impulse to become started taking front and center seat. I look at our whole being and it's kind of like a bus. And normally we have, like you were talking about earlier, we have the ego driving the bus. Don't really want it. It needs to be part of it because, as I said when I was younger, God don't give us no junk. He doesn't give it. We don't get something we're not meant to have as part of our life experiences.
Yes.
Everything just needs to be used based on what its capacities are.
Mm-hmm.
And once something is given a job that is beyond its capacity, not likely going to work out so well.
Kind of like the Peter principle they used to write about, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So as that started unfolding, the impulse to become overrode everything. I would go through my mourning. I would go through my losses. I would go through the pain of letting go. I would go through the challenges of standing in myself to express what I knew was right.
Yes.
And I also had to go through the pain of keeping my mouth shut without shrinking energetically, knowing that being quiet, but being present was what was needed when all I wanted to do was get into a fight and an argument because I couldn't agree with what was going on.
That's right.
So you have to learn how to really not temper, but honor the flow pattern that's within and what your journey is, as well as the process of anybody else you're having a journey experience with. Because it's not just about you, it's about the collective of everyone.
Right. Very important.
And that's one of the things that's always been very prominent for me. I knew it wasn't strictly about me, even though I was making it about me.
Yes.
It was all about me, but I knew the me was about the we.
That's the great thing about the higher self. Is the higher self automatically cares about what's good for all, not just for the individual.
Yep.
The ego, obviously, concerned about itself. But
of course.
I'm glad you brought that out there, because sometimes people forget that it's not just about self-actualizing. It's also about being a contributor to the world we're in and to the evolution we're all going through. Ron, let me ask you this. So you had, getting rid of your programming and moving forward in consciousness. Yours took I have to get rid of this. This is going, mine was similar that way, but everyone's is not going to be like that. So I don't want people to think that, you got to give up your wife, your husband, your job. Speak to people that are just getting into the awakening of being on this spiritual path, and speak to them about how to handle the times where your security is here and you're moving over here, and how to make that balance, how to get through times like that.
Oh, good question. Good question. The thing that has always made sense to me, even when I was in a relationship, I knew it was coming to an end. But that's not how I focused on it. I didn't focus on the end of the relationship. Something in me knew that it was the end of how I went into it. And I needed to shift what my contribution was to the relationship. And as I began to shift, and this applies to everybody, take anything you're in, relationship with a loved one, family members, it can be something you do for a job, a career, whatever you want to call it. Realize that everything is a snapshot in an instance in time. And that sits and presents itself the way that it does based on how you contribute to the dynamic of what makes a relationship up. If you can realize that everything is a process of becoming a better version of yourself, a more authentic version of yourself, and all you're doing is healing the imbalances that create the way that you live that may not make you happy, may not bring about a state of ease, contentment, whatever it might be, even in a relationship. If you can recognize that you can continue to bring a better version of yourself out, and because of our innate design, we are meant, as we elevate, to help others elevate it as well. It is not a singular process in an isolatory fashion. As I elevate, because of the connectivity of all life and all existence, as I elevate, that creates the opportunity for everyone else to elevate it as well. And if it is done in harmony with an individual that wants something very similar to themselves, for themselves, you then create a slipstream of movement that, yes, you may have your ups and downs, you may have your challenges, but all those challenges are primarily inner challenges that have a tendency to present themselves externally. And if you can realize any difficulties within a relationship are stemmed from an internal imbalance, and if you can correct your contribution to what's happening, if you can make known, I'm processing through a lot right now, and I just need a little bit of breathing room to navigate through this until I settle through. And once I settle through, I'll share what I've come to, what I feel I'm becoming, so we can start on a clean slate. We can create a new way of being. Because what I want to do is bring something better to this situation and relieve the situation of the imbalances that I've carried.
So let's say that you're evolving, or a person that we're talking to is evolving.
Yep.
But the person that they're with is staying kind of in the same place.
Yeah.
I mean, you still love them, but they're not really growing in the way that you're growing. That's a big turning point in a person's life. I mean,
Absolutely.
What do you do at that time? I think it kind of happens naturally what happens next. But
it does happen naturally. But what I've learned early on is you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You want to get rid of the bathwater and see what the baby's like after it's all said and done. Okay. So within it, it's what you throw out is your viewpoint. That didn't work.
Right. Which included the old pattern.
Right. And as you do that, you present yourself more clearly. And that also provides the other individual for an opportunity to present more clearly. And if you can go through it with grace, kindness, and compassion for self and others, you can navigate in a way where you can truly see whether there's a compatibility or not. Sometimes it can work really well, because I've got people I work with where this individual's husband is more than happy for her to go wherever they want. They meet at the level they meet at. They are ecstatic. It works for them. And he just keeps let her doing her thing. And with just by happenstance and, the momentum that occurs, as well as that entrainment, he just kind of goes like this. As she takes 3 steps, he takes a half a step. As she takes 10 steps, he takes 1. And that's enough for the two of them. They're very happy in the relationship. They live their own lives, but they also come together to share what their lives are. Some people that doesn't work.
No.
Some people, what ends up happening is that the differences are so dynamically diverse that the only option to be able to sustain any kind of kindness and love is to let everyone go.
Yes.
but you can still have a connection without being bound by the idea of marriage, relationship, and the ideas of what it is, partnerships, whatever they are. Then we get to see the truth. We honor who we are. We honor who they are. And if they can honor who they are, then likely they're going to be able to honor who you are. And then the relationship can split amicably, and everybody can go about their business, and they may even be able to still be friends. But at that point, it comes to closure because both people will have discussed that there's no connector point that brings about a growth that both love.
Thank you. That was good. So, we're talking about transformation because that's really what this is all about. It's moving from one age, one world to another. We're all going to be transforming more and more rapidly all the time. And right now, it's really, wouldn't you say that right now it's really powerful transformation?
Breakneck speed. Yeah. It is so incredibly rapid. I mean, and you've known me long enough, the things that I go through, I'm shifting through things multiple times a day, and I can't even keep my awareness of the environment sometimes, to where I just have to shut the environment out or reorganize myself. I have to tell my wife, I have to tell my son, it's like, I need some space, I need some time, I need to breathe. Do me a favor, just let me be. I want to just sit. I just want to sit in a corner and just drool for a little while. I'm going to be good, and then we'll see where it goes. And when that happens, you need to surrender to it instead of fighting it. It's like we were talking about what's coming. Surrender to the fact that this is just what's there. The boulder is rolling down the hill. Your house is there. You can try to get the boulder to shift. It may not. Just bless the house, be grateful for it, get out of the house, let the boulder do its job.
That's good.
And if it needs to level your house because you need a new house, then you get a new house. If it doesn't, then be grateful for the experience of what you had to go through to deal with the loss, to deal with the change.
I like that.
I've
got to let you go today, but you got to promise me I'm not going to let you go.
Yes.
You got to promise me that you'll come back in a couple of weeks. So we have so much more to talk about.
Absolutely. I would love to come back and play more. This would be great.
Good. Take good care of yourself. Good seeing you.
Thank you so much for having me on. Take care, everybody.
Okay, we're going to go right from Ron. Hope you guys can handle it. Get a lot of deep stuff going on here. Lauren Perrault is going to come up next. And we're going to make time for Deborah to have 5 minutes at the end, too, because she has an important announcement to make about something going to happen locally here in Sedona. Lauren? Welcome back. Are you?
There we go.
There. Oh, good. That would not have been good. Yes. How you been? It was about a month ago you were on, maybe 6 weeks.
I don't even. What is time right now?
I know. You're right.
Time is not even. I'm just vibing off of the conversation you were just having. Because there are so many things that were just said that I literally said to somebody this morning. I said, I used the word scaffolding. I was just like, when he started talking about scaffolding, I was like, whoa, I had to write it down. And then the analogy of the bus and the ego and all parts needing to come along. But who's driving the bus? It just, and then what you guys were just talking about with the rate of revelation right now is it's overwhelming. It is truly overwhelming. So anyway, I have no idea how long ago it was that I was here. I feel like it was yesterday. Could have been right now. Who knows?
We were talking about dimensions. I want your take on all that. We talked about how the third dimension is kind of the everyday dimension that the ego feels real comfortable in, that we have to operate in because it's the life that's sitting in front of us. But tell our listeners about the other dimensions and what it's like to move into them, how to move into them, things like that.
Okay. So there's actually, I don't know if you've ever seen it. There's a great YouTube video called, I think it's from Dr. Quantum, and it's called, I forget what it's called. Oh, The Flatland. Anyway, it's this great depiction of sort of what he sort of shows, okay, this is what a 2D is like. And then he introduces a 3D and he shows all the 2D beings being totally freaked out because all of a sudden there's just this thing that appears in front of them. They have no idea what it is because it's coming in from a different dimension that they are not in. And that's exactly, and so then it's like, well, then we have, you know, our look, we are all we are simply manifestations of source. That's what we are. That's what we are. We're everything is manifestation of source. Everything is source playing with creation, with destruction, with limitation, with expansiveness. It's all a play. This is all play. And so we, in this manifestation, in this human manifestation, we get 3 dimensions. Most of us, we get 3 dimensions, but there's a whole lot more. There's probably infinite dimensions, because because infinity is real.
Yes.
And infiniteness is the truth.
Yes.
So there's a 4th dimension, and a 5th dimension, and a 6th dimension. And in my understanding from my work,
yes,
none of this was taught to me. I just sort of discovered all of this as I went.
On your own.
On my own. I mean, I've had help. I've had some wonderful guides along the way, but like I never, nobody ever told me this stuff. And even if somebody had, I wouldn't have been able to understand it without the experience of it. But, the different realms, like there's the angelic realm, there's the realm of the deities, there's a realm of those who have passed, there's all these realms, a fairy realm, whatever, there's a million realms, there's so many realms. There's realms that can't be named because language fails us in this conversation always. But the realms, the dimensions are where source is manifesting itself in different ways. And so the way I understand my work when I'm doing mediumship is I'm tapping into the realm where consciousness goes after it leaves this 3-dimensional space of physical form. It goes to a realm that's not separate. It's not somewhere else, right? Because all of the realms everything's now here. Everything's here now. All the realms are here now. All time is here now, right? Like everything ever was, will be, or is now. It's right here. So it's a matter of sort of like, this is probably more complicated, but it's simply is just a matter of practicing believing that. Just practicing believing, okay, everything is here now. If I'm picking up on something, or I'm having a dream about somebody, or I can't get somebody out of my mind, or I'm hearing a song, or whatever, like it's practicing believing that is source coming in to this dimensional space with information about what's real, about what's happening. So connecting with those who've passed, it's something I've always done.
Let me ask you this, if I may.
Yeah.
The different dimensions in the different realms. So through time, have you gotten like a feel inside yourself, or when you're in the right space you want to be in?
Mm.
Is it like that? Is it like a feel? Like, oh yeah, this tone that I'm in now, the frequency that I'm in now, is the frequency I need to be on. Did something like that happen? Or tell me what your process is with that.
Yes. Well, it actually ties into your previous guest too, talking about like misalignment or being out of alignment, or that sense of, the transition between the realms is tough.
Yes.
And this is something I talk to people about a lot, because I mentor, intuitive people, and it's something I'm doing more and more. It's not something I ever imagined I would do, but it's turning out to be something I can't get enough of doing. And one of the things that's so challenging is so to answer your question, do you get a sense of when you're in the right realm? Yes, because suddenly there's no resistance, and it's just flow. Right before I came on here, so just here's an example, I wanted to be in this realm of this conversation space, but I was waiting. So my heart was pounding, and I was uncomfortable in my physical body. Now, at a previous time in my life, I would have been like, oh, I'm nervous, or I'm having a panic attack, or something's wrong with me.
Right.
I must be nervous. I must be having performance anxiety or whatever. But knowing now, living through this way, I was just saying, oh, this is my form wanting to get into alignment with where I want to be, where it wants to be, where the channel is happening and the information is flowing. And I can't do it yet because I'm waiting. And so I felt uncomfortable, and it's like that.
Hmm.
I think that's what it's like. And I think as human beings, we have this machine, this beautiful biology that is much more, it speaks to us much more than I think many of us are aware. And yet what we do is that we put labels on experiences that we have in our bodies, or emotional experiences, or feelings about things. And we put labels on them to sort of put them in boxes that we understand. But when we start to just kind of take the lids off the boxes, then we realize, oh, wait a minute, that's my intuition speaking, or that's information coming in from another realm, or that's God or source, or my grandmother speaking to me, or whatever that is. And it opens up a lot more possibility, and it creates a lot more freedom inside of us, so we don't feel so like freaked out, or what's wrong with me, or why am I feeling like this right now? It's like, well, I'm feeling this because I'm sensitive, because I'm open, because I'm aware, and there's a lot going on, because all is here now, and so I'm open, so I'm feeling it.
Do you feel in the mood today to maybe contact somebody from the other side?
Sure. I know you wanted to talk to your mom.
Yes, I do. You're right. You
told me that. I'm not going to take credit.
We're not going to give you credit for what's not due.
No, don't take credit. Yeah. So how do you feel about that?
I feel good. She's been dead since 2006. She had breast cancer, and then that became bone cancer, and then she moved pretty rapidly away from us when the bone cancer hit, because it goes pretty rapidly through your body. Yeah. But I was always very close to her. Yeah. That's why I feel comfortable in kind of realms that I am comfortable in, because I was comfortable with my mother's energy as a little boy.
That's powerful. So, okay. So when I'm doing mediumship stuff, I'll just say some things land right away and some things don't. I don't need to tell you this, but I'm just saying these things because people probably want to know this. Yes. Some things land right away, some things don't. And I've also learned to trust that everything that does come up in the course of this conversation is exactly perfect, and it will eventually land. So I want to share a couple of things with you, because I'm not sure if any of this stuff is connected to your mom or to you on some level. But before I came on the show, I had a massive, it felt like an allergy attack, and then it cleared. And I was like, what the heck is going on with me? I was sneezing and sneezing. And then it was gone. And I was aware that was an emotional release that needed to take place. And I just have this sense with your mom that there's some of that still needing to shift for her. I'm also aware that we're on a public radio show. And so yes. I don't necessarily want to, we could go deeper than this, I would imagine, but there's some way in which there's an emotional release that needs to be happening. And she's talking about this to me. So she's sharing this to me. She sees it in the structure of the family. So there's something about that she wants to share. She was, I'm just going to listen for a moment. Have you had a medium connect with her since she passed?
Accidentally, when I was in Maine, shortly after she died, this woman who didn't call herself a psychic, but she told me that someone was singing this lullaby song, which is not a common lullaby song. And she told me about it. I knew that it was my mom. That's it.
There's a lot of nurturing that she wants to be bringing in, and it's I have to ask, does somebody have shaky hands?
Very good, very much so.
Yeah, she did.
Oh yes.
Because
not just when she got older.
Yeah.
Even when she was younger, she had hands that shook all the time.
Yeah, I was holding some crystals and I just dropped them, and I'm feeling like a shakiness coming over me. So
yeah.
It's just from her. It's just a confirmation. So that's how
good. That's something that stood out with her.
Yeah.
Shaking hands. And it wasn't that disease that people get. It was just nervous system. She had a rapidly moving nervous system.
Yep. Yep. I get that from her. I wonder if some of the heartbeat stuff that I was having before I came on was her too. But that's just a nice confirmation that was helpful to me. So she wants you to know, and I think you do know this, but something in your heart to settle around the fact that her passing, when she actually did pass, like, so when she went from this manifestation and then her consciousness moved to the other side, that it was beautiful and peaceful. And it was it was like light filled, and there was a lot of angelic singing going on. I don't know if there was somebody that's a singer or music is important somehow, but that's coming through. And was your mom, I know you mentioned earlier about being raised Catholic, but she had a spiritual religious quality to her. Like there was a spirituality involved in her sort of more traditional, maybe what others would see as religion, but inside of her experience, it was truly spiritual. And so she likes to talk. Your mom.
Oh my God, she likes to talk. Yes, she's quite a talker. My father used to go, can you stop now? It's been going on for how long you've been talking? It's the truth.
I think I'm going to have to schedule another session or a session with you and me, because she has a lot to say and she has a lot of opinions, but her opinions are from love, and she has a lot to say about some things going on right now, seems like. So
and the music part fits too, because she was a singer and I was a professional singer for a while too. So we communicated a lot through music that we enjoyed.
I didn't know that about you, Leo.
Yeah.
I heard before I was getting ready for the show. Actually, I had a session earlier today with a client, and it came up in the session, and I was like, oh, this doesn't land for you. It must be for later. I heard music is important. That's what I heard. And so I asked my client before, I said, is music important to you? And she was like, well, I mean, I like music. And I was like, no, okay, that's not for you. It's got to be for someone. So
it is.
That's for you. So there's a connection around that with her. Anyway, I know we probably have to.
That was very good. I appreciate that. That really was very, because you touched on things that are not like, oh, well, she went to bed late most nights. You didn't do any of that great dumb stuff. You gave me some good stuff on the nervousness and the music. Yeah. That was good. Thank you very much. And I want you on very soon, like a couple of weeks again. So you're gonna have to. Do you want to?
Of course.
Okay, good.
Anytime. Bring me back anytime.
You are officially a regular. Tell people how to get a hold of you.
Thank you. So my website is connectwithlauren.com. I actually have a workshop tomorrow. There's still room from 1 to 3 Eastern time. It's called Intro to Your Intuition. So it's a Zoom workshop. It's $48. And if people go to my website, connectwithlauren.com, and they click the book now button, it'll take you and you can sign up for that. And I'm really active on Instagram. I'm a big Instagram person. Same thing. It's Connect with Lauren. That's my Instagram handle. I do live readings on there. I do little tidbits and share a bunch of stuff. So those are some good ways to connect with me.
I'm glad you put that out there. So thanks for being on, and we'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bye, Lauren.
Thank you. Bye.
And now, last but not least, my partner, my wife, Deborah Tallarico, has got involved in this event that's happening in Sedona. And, that's where we live. And I would like her to spend some time. We got a few minutes left, telling everybody about this event that's coming up. Okay, here you are. Come on, Deb. Come on. Can't hear you. Cannot hear you. You got the mute button on or something, honey?
Okay, there it is.
There you are. Great.
Now?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, great. It was awesome to see both Ron and Lauren, and I just wanted to say it was beautiful to see them. I just got to see Lauren in Maine, which was so wonderful, and I got to pass on my beloved crystals to her. So I'm so grateful. She's going to be caretaking them now. So, and to see Ron too, it was wonderful. So, yes, I just want to talk quickly. I know we don't have much time. I think in 2 weeks, we're going to have more time to talk about this, but so I'm just going to begin talking about what I've been working with this spiritual group for the last 5 years called the Circle for All Life, and it's part of the Mother Earth Restoration Trust. And the Mother Earth Restoration Trust is a lot about what's in the name. It's an organization that's working on the restoration of Mother Earth and the feminine in nature, and healing and restoring the feminine in nature. And they work very closely with the most amazing spiritually evolved elders in the heart of the world in Colombia. And we do spiritual work. And I think it was in the late winter, spring, they got guided to this piece of land to steward, we'll say. And it just so happens that this piece of land is at the headwaters of the Verde River in Arizona. And it's a river that's crucial, not only to Arizona, but the whole Southwest because of the water supply and all that. So they started the purchase of a 42-acre piece of land that's exactly at the headwaters where the 7 springs are that bring in the water, and to begin like this sacred work with the river. And knowing that this river isn't just in Arizona, but it's the work with this river is the work is helping all the waters and all the water flows of the whole earth. So we're having a benefit, which was this vision came to me. The mother kept just waking me up in the middle of the night. And I said, okay, I got to move with this. And I secured a place on Sunday, October 24th. It's going to be an outdoor, so we'll be right on the earth with the canyons all around. It's just beautiful. It's the Passe Grounds Pavilion in Sedona, and it's going to be a 5-hour benefit with people speaking about this initiative, and also amazing lineup of musicians, sound healers, and I'm just so excited to invite everyone that listens to this, whether you can attend live or not. There's going to be a video recording of it.
Oh,
and we're seeking, donations and contributions to finish the purchase of this land. We have to raise.
How can people get a hold of you to do that? Because we're running out of time.
Yes.
Yes.
And hopefully next show we'll be able to maybe have Eric and Nelson on talking.
Let's do that. Good.
Talking more about the initiative and the work that we're doing. So if you want to find out more, go to the Mother Earth Restoration Trust.world. The Mother Earth Restoration Trust.world. And then once you get there, you'll learn about MERT. And then if you go up, you can read about the initiative of the Verde River up at the top. And then there's an event page. And if you go to the event page, you can contribute, give donations, all that kind of thing, and learn more details about the event up there.
Good.
Thank you so much, everyone. Much love to everyone.
Good having you on as usual, Deb. And I'll see you soon. Take care of yourself.
We're in the next room.
Next room.
In a minute. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
And let me continue by saying, in order to get a hold of me and all the work that I do, mainly, transformational work, helping people in their consciousness make the changes of out with the old programming of a society and in with the authenticity of who they are. And I use astrology as my tool to help people do that, to help them see themselves closely, who they are as a soul, and also to help people to see what kind of changes are moving into their life and how they might deal with it and how long it might last. And you can get a hold of me by going to Solus, SOULUS, at AOL.com. It's Solus, SOULUS, at AOL.com, or leonightandtellarico.com. You probably got cut off. You didn't get to hear that, but I'll give it to you. I think next week we're on again, and then 2 weeks from there, because we waited 3 weeks this time. So love you all, and talk to you in a couple of weeks. And thank you again, Lauren and Ron and Deborah, for helping me out and being an interesting and loving part of our broadcast today. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.